Please, Rev, please listen to me. Please save a plushie for me. Please, dude. Please do it. Please, I beg you, bro. Please. I really want one of his plushies. Bungie, before you make Destiny 3, listen to this. Oh, God. Cross, what are you doing, brother?
There is a video I've been told that we need to watch. It's a long video, but I hear it's a great video. And when I say long, I'm talking 54 minutes long.
What the fuck?
By a guy named Pint Size. And the title of the video is Before You Make Destiny 3, Watch This Video.
11th, 2014 was a Tuesday. But to a 7th grader who had just gotten out of school, it was anything but a normal Tuesday. Today, his dad promised that after school, they'd stop at GameStop to pick up the first game the kid had ever pre-ordered. GameStop was like heaven to this kid. The walls filled with so many stories to tell.
See, that's what we all felt like, because to a guy like me, Destiny came out in high school, man. I remember when I went and got Destiny 1. I was a sophomore in high school. I went there with my first girlfriend, Heather. We bought it together, man, because we were both nerds back then. Oh man, one of the great days of my first ever relationship.
But there was one reason he was there today.
Fuck, I am old.
Halo Master Chief Collection came out. But when he was checking out, something else caught his eye. A game sat on a shelf that had been out for only a couple months. He remembered one of his best friends talking about this limitless game of exploration, community.
See, I did the cooler thing, and I went out and I pre-ordered Destiny. And I used my own allowance money to get it. I didn't need my dad. Ha!
And discovery. This kid knew nothing beyond that, and that was enough. He asked his dad if he could get Destiny.
God bless his soul, man. I'm sure that dad had no idea what he was getting him into. He was probably just like, I'm just trying to be a good dad out here.
It didn't take long for him to start playing it, especially since Halo MCC was all but unplayable at this time. And I must say, no game has influenced my life more than the Destiny franchise. But along the way, Destiny's evolved, in some ways good and in others bad, and those arbitraries will change from person to person. And honestly, right now, I personally feel Destiny has lost so much of its identity, or at least the identity of it that I loved. So we're going to take a stroll down memory lane today. We're going to visit the very beginning of Destiny to where it is today on the footstep of Renegades. We're going to see what changed and what Bungie got wrong so they could learn from it if this rumored Destiny 3 is real. And ultimately answer, why do we play Destiny? Before we start, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be using a lot of footage from all around the internet to help you travel back in time with me. I'll also be using my own footage, but particularly with Destiny 1, I don't have that much. So whenever someone else's footage is being used, I'm going to leave their name in the corner of the screen right here. And lastly, before we jump into this, I'm a really small channel, so you just being here and watching means a lot to me, especially on a longer video. Putting this much effort into a video is very risky for me, so I appreciate you sitting through it. And to those of you who like or subscribe, thank you, seriously. And I hope you
God,
enjoy.
he's gonna make me go back to nostalgia of Destiny 1.
When Destiny launched,
no!
nobody really knew what it was. It was often marketed just by saying, from the creators of Halo and the company that brought you Call of Duty. And while its Halo roots were definitely felt, Destiny was also an RPG and an all lowercase MMO. People didn't know how to play this kind of game, especially on consoles. I know I didn't. I jumped in with one of my friends and played through the confusing story.
I don't even have time to explain why I don't have time to explain.
And yet I couldn't put it down. What a classic. Gunplay felt so satisfying. The space magic abilities lighting up rooms felt stimulating, especially for a 12-year-old. The game kicked our asses, but the loot made it all worth it.
Oh my god, I got a fucking Gallahorn! Oh my god, look at my heavy weapon now! Oh my god, I got the fucking Gallahorn!
Damn!
People lose their shit.
Destiny was a game that promised nothing, but delivered everything. There weren't even any quests, no guaranteed loot sources, no LFGs. Hell, engrams were so bad that they could decrypt down a tier in quality, and even drop gear for different classes.
Yep.
Wow, yo. Come on. I'll take it. Wow. Alright.
Oh!
Thunderlord.
But even still, you'd be lucky to get a legendary. It took me probably around 2 weeks to get my first legendary. The Badger CCL Scout Rifle. Was it good?
The
Probably
Badger.
not. I mean, it's definitely better than all these rares. And I remember looking at my friend Claudio's Titan, and not only did he have legendaries, he had exotics. He was the one that told me how coveted they are. He was the
Patience
one
and
that told me
time.
you can only equip one at a time because of how powerful they are. The game never needed to tell me because I wouldn't even have one for a month. The only good source of these exotics was the weekly Nightfall Strike.
The Renegade
Once per week,
DLC
that's
is
all you got.
basically a Star Wars.
And then they were so
themed
hard that when you
tie-in. Yeah,
completed
exactly.
them, you would get a flaming aura
I played
around
it
your
time
head
to
until the next
time.
weekly reset, which also gained you XP gains. And
The problem with where Destiny is right now is that it's not Destiny. That's literally the problem. We talked about this over watching Cross's video on where Destiny is and if Destiny 3 is coming, or the title of his video is Should Destiny Die? Destiny 2 Die? And pretty much it should at this point. I completely agree with Cross.
And these would be very handy due
The
to
bad
fact that you needed
juju.
to unlock perks on your gear, weapons and armor, including exotics, before you actually got their bonuses.
Yep.
Crucible was arcadey fun, no balance whatsoever though, and there were like 5 different strike playlists. I remember each had their own ships, or maybe sparrows too, that would rarely drop. I really wanted this one. I remember getting lost in the worlds that Bungie crafted for us. The Cosmodrome, the Moon, Venus, and Mars. The game felt eerie, ominous, and yet hopeful, like an unanswered question in the apocalypse. Claudio basically shat himself the first time he fought the Hive, and strikes scared the hell out of me. Claudio would
game was
also
just
whisper the
spookier,
legend
too.
of the Vault of Glass, an expedition deep into Venus that would require 6 people and apparently hours of our time for some of the most insane gear.
By the way, guys, the AR that I hold in lore looks exactly like the Monte Carlo. Like, a lot of the powers that I give myself come from Destiny 2, which is when I came up with my character. And now Destiny 2 sucks so bad.
Felt distant, but obtainable. I remember he even took me to Venus to watch a fire team of 6 open the vault gate and descend into its depths. That's right. You could see people doing that on patrol and even help them.
I can't express just how powerful it was.
Yeah.
To watch this in the public environment.
Mind you, I
would have
played it on
never
Destiny
known
1 beta before
that
the
the raid
release.
existed. This is also but for whatever
Quantum.
reason, we have never went back to this.
I remember when Destiny
Okay?
came out,
The
it was
idea
like a
of being
month
in
or
in
two
an
after I
open
came back
world,
from
a live
deployment,
world,
end up buying an
and then there would
Xbox
be
One
a group, a team there
for my now
that is,
ex-wife, just to be able to
essentially
play it. Yeah.
breaking their way into the vault, and you could watch.
I
That
bought
team
a
do it. And you go,
PS4
hey,
for
I
it
want to do that
as a kid.
I need to find people to do that.
Or a
Wonder
PS.
how many people got into
a
raiding just
PS3,
because of
excuse
that.
me.
And yeah, the following month, Destiny: The Dark Below would release. And I feel like here, the community would begin to settle in for the first time. Guides became more prevalent for the game, and with Crota's End being a much shorter and arguably easier raid than VoG, many people would just jump into the raiding scene for the very first time. During this time, I got my first exotics, the Bad Juju, which came from an extremely rare and difficult exotic bounty, and the Claws of Ahamkara. With the House of Wolves, Trials of Osiris released, and while nowadays Trials is an afterthought at best for most players, in 2015, it was
it was
huge
the
hit.
shit.
Everyone was playing every weekend, striving to reach the lighthouse and claim their exotic emblem. That's right, exotic emblem. Destiny 1's lighthouse also spoke to the mystery of Destiny's universe, as it was the first time we would visit
By the
Mercury
way,
outside of Crucible maps.
Neat Quantum
Guardians of
Dorian lore. I
Waterford
was a beta
Sands in
tester
third
for the
person,
closed
and
beta for the
speculate on the
PS4
whereabouts
version of
the
Star Wars
legendary character
Battlefront
from the
2.
lore, Osiris.
My ex-uncle
And because
worked
you
at
could only
LA
loot the lighthouse
Studios in
chest
Austin,
once per week,
Texas.
when you went flawless,
Yeah, it
Mercury
sucked
would
grinding-wise,
still
like
be
the
there
leaked
on your
data.
director screen,
Oh,
available to
shit.
visit for the rest of the week. It really felt like you earned a passage to an exotic land you weren't meant to be at, or even see. And the music, words cannot express how it made us feel.
That
And
just
comment
had a
below if you know the
presence to it,
Easter
man.
egg on where this track came from. You won't believe it till you see it for yourself. Anyway, this was the first time that PvP became a true focus in Destiny, and the community really loved it. I remember the Twitch directory was filled with $5 or $10 trials carries, and man, we bought them up. What a time to be alive. This was a time where it truly felt like anyone could find a place in the Destiny community, whether you wanted to live in the Crucible and get 2-shot by Thorn and Last Word, and maybe 1-shot by Hawkmoon, or even teach new raiders how to down Crota for the first time. Hell, maybe you lived in the Strike playlist or deep in the Prison of Elders. Every corner of the game was deep.
I lived in Prison of Elders, the Strike playlist, and I frequently did Crota. Repeatedly. Those are the 3 activities I loved in Destiny 1. Especially with Rat.
And called you to visit it. Loot was rare, but more importantly, loot was memorable. Anyone who played during this time remembers exactly how they got their favorite piece of gear, and they would love to tell you about it.
Oh my god, getting the Suros regime for the first fucking time. Oh. The nightmare of that quest, bro. It's a multiplayer quest. You literally have to get kills with pulse rifles, auto rifles. You have to win 5 matches of trials. Oh god, and I can't remember the rest of it. But it was a shit ton of kills with pulse rifles and assault rifles. And auto rifles and pulse rifles were like the weakest damaging weapons in the game at the time.
Probably even still to this day. Like asking your old grandpa.
Yep, I didn't like the progress grind. I told him that earning Darth Vader for like 65,000 points to unlock, and he thought it was stupid. Yeah. Zillow Supercell was my jam. Oh.
The Taken King was our first taste at what a completed vision for Destiny would look like.
Yep.
And it was beautiful.
Taken King, best DLC Bungie ever did.
Arriving to the solar system for revenge against you. I think this would give rise to a new type of player, the Chroniclers. Nobody calls them that, but today I will. The Chroniclers would follow along with Destiny primarily for lore and narrative reasons. They would read the Grimoire cards like the Bible and share their findings with the wider community. And for the first time, the community also cared to listen. Orcs' Arrival also evolved the worlds of Destiny for the first real time. We were introduced to our first new faction, the Taken, and our first new destination, Orcs' Dreadnought. The campaign also had us visiting locations like Phobos and the Cosmodrome's colony ships, and we even fought on some Crucible maps. The game scope just widened, and there was no guessing what Bungie had up their sleeve. New secrets were being found, including quests, exotics, and full-blown missions.
Yep,
and
the Black Spindle.
We would also be sent out to discover our first ever new subclasses. The Stormcaller, Night Stalker, and Sunbreaker. These new subclasses just felt so fresh, so cool, and unbelievably powerful, especially if you were a Titan in the Crucible. The leveling system also got revamped, and so was the gear system. Legendaries became easier to obtain and farm. Some exotics had guaranteed loot sources through quests and missions. Ghost shells were added to the loot pool, as were artifacts, which have no similarity with Destiny 2's artifacts. Crucible got a huge and needed balance pass, new game mode, and 9 new maps. So needless to say...
Dude, I miss these maps. I know some of these we had, but like Asylum, you saw a little bit of Asylum in there. There were so many just banging D1 maps.
You were eating good in whatever part of the game you were playing. Unless you loved Prison of Elders. That got left in the fucking dust. For PvE, there were also 4 new...
That was the thing that pissed me off the most about Taken King. Nothing happened with my Prison of Elders, you fucking bitches at Bungie.
Strikes, which actually mattered a lot in D1
during holiday 2016 during the beta.
Playlist. And the raid? Oh man, what a magnificent journey. If you ask me, King's Fall was Bungie's first real raid. It had layers of mechanics, amazing set pieces, so many encounters, and a cinematic as fuck ending. Even if the loot didn't really compare to that of Vogue or Crota's End, King's Fall borrowed variants from the hard mode more than made up for it. And now is also a great time to mention that in D1, hard mode raids didn't even have revives. If you died, you're dead until the encounter's over, which is exactly why self-res Sunsingers were always appreciated. With all that context out of the way, it should be fair to say that the Taken King took a large leap into the RPG space compared to Year 1. The Bungie forums were spammed with people searching the Dreadnought for secrets and puzzles, Guardians gained large steps in terms of build crafting options, and the new gear earned from quests felt aspiring, while still leaving plenty of room for RNG drops that would be sprinkled in between them. The game took a couple of paces in the more casual direction, but had a completed vision for every type of player, so everyone was honestly on board. And with the game feeling so replayable, the year-long content droughts weren't even that bad at the time. I know it's probably easy to say that now, but I can say personally, all of my friends were still playing every single day. The core game just had so much.
Many of us were playing every single day,
Yes.
primarily PvP.
Yep.
Even though I didn't like one-hit sticky grenades or Sunsinger or even some of the standout weapons, PvP, the things that carried in the content droughts were PvP and
yep.
trials.
For us to grind towards, and more importantly, it was just fun to do it. And I should also note the reason that the content drought didn't cause harm to the community sentiment was because the little content that was added over the following year was fresh, experimental, and rewarding.
Yep.
Here I'll just focus on SRL in the April update. SRL, or the Sparrow Racing League, was exactly what it sounded like. You and 5 other Guardians would race down one of 2 maps. You could earn Sparrows, SRL armor, and even Sparrow horns. And as someone who was in the top 200 SRL back in the day, I loved it. And 4 months later, just when you thought Bungie forgot about Prison of Elders, boom, they hit you with the April update. A new strike, Prison of Elders refresh, challenge cards, cosmetic glows, loot boxes, and a 2-minute story mission. Awesome stuff.
Oh.
I know many of you have been waiting for this part. In year 3, Bungie dropped Rise of Iron, Destiny's take on a medieval-themed expansion. A nanomachine tech plague has been unleashed upon the Cosmodrome, and Lord Saladin has asked you to intervene. I know, very medieval. Together, we explored the Plague Lands. It's kind of a map expansion of the Cosmodrome. It was the first time Bungie really did something like this, and not something we really see all that often. My favorite part of the Plague Lands was the snow. See, in D1, the Cosmodrome already had some snow, but it was more of an afterthought than just the main set piece. But not here. Rise of Iron brought us a true winter wonderland. We got a new social space too, Fellwinter Peak, which was high in the mountains of Old Russia overlooking the Cosmodrome. Much like the Taken King, Rise of Iron also brought us new PvP maps, new Enterprise strikes, a decent campaign, amazing lore, new gear, and most importantly, one of the greatest raids of all time, Wrath of the Machine. Wrath is by no means the hardest raid in D1, but it was the hardest to run on those consoles. This raid really pushed the envelope on raid set pieces, specifically the Siege Engine, where you would repair a giant fallen Death Zamboni on top of the Cosmodrome's wall while surviving waves of fallen Siva splicers, which are Rise of Iron's new enemy subfaction. During this encounter, your poor PS4 or Xbox One would be fighting for its life. And honestly, there's not much more to say about Rise of Iron here. It was a smaller scale, cheaper sequel to the Take.
When I played this raid the first time with all of my buddies, my PlayStation 4 actually crashed. And when I felt the temperature on my PS4 when it did crash, I was like, oh my god, my PS4 is going to fucking combust.
Taken King. But what it did have felt really inspired and innovative for its time. While Taken King reinvented the wheel entirely, Rise of Iron decked those wheels out with amazing armor, weapons, record books, and finally, PvP private matches. Even the artifacts got reworks. Rise of Irons provided very powerful yet niche boosts. For example, one would...
Oh, the artifacts, they were busted, boys. No. Let me back up real quick.
Rise of Irons provided very powerful yet...
These things right here, you could wear one of these. And some were like... For instance, what took away your sprint cooldown? Yes, Destiny 1 had a sprint cooldown. But there was one which was Yoder. I believe it was Yoder. No. Scory. Was it Scory? There was one where you could share your super with your teammates. So what that means is, if you got your super early in a trials game, instead of you challenging the opposing team, you could sit in the back of the map with your teammates and they could leech super energy off of you so that they could get their super. What this meant is a very, very passive game. And Bungie didn't have really objectives back then. It was just straight up elim.
Niche boosts. For example, one would just let you punch enemies to temporarily turn them into your allies. That's awesome. I will note one change in Rise of Iron, however, which is Bungie, for the first time ever, prioritizing quest exotics over RNG drops. Of the 8 exotic weapons issued in year 3, only 2 were normal RNG drops.
Yeah,
keep this trend in mind,
sorry,
because it's going to continue to progress.
But getting an Outbreak pulse rifle was so easy back then. It was kind of like we all felt in the Destiny 1 community that it was a downgrade because the game gave it practically to you. There wasn't like an extremely challenging quest like getting Spindle or No Time to Worry or 21 Delirium. there was just like no questing behind it. You did the raid once and you got it.
As the years pass. At the end of
Basically what Destiny 1 is a challenge. And Destiny 2 practically gives it to you for free, which I don't like.
Destiny 1's lifespan came one of the franchise's greatest updates ever created, the Age of Triumph. Remember all those raids everyone's loved? They're all back. They've all got updates, exploit fixes, reprise loot, new armor ornaments that look insane, and a new at-level hard mode. It really was the perfect send-off for Destiny 1, ending on an insane, nostalgic high. Yeah, that's right. People were already nostalgic for these old raids with how much they were played. Destiny at this point had found its audience, its footing, and its confidence to execute on it. The hope for the future couldn't have been greater.
Yep. I remember getting those triumphs.
I think it's fair to say that every Destiny 1
my
player
ass for
went
about
into
a month to
D2
get all
with
three of them.
basically zero red flags raised. Destiny 1's launch was messy, even if fun, but over the following years, Bungie had continuously delivered better and better experiences for it, and it felt like they had learned from their...
I will say, yes, except there were two people in my circle that looked at D2 and said, I don't think that's going to pop. One was QJ, the other was Gamer Guy. And I specifically remember during the beta, they had jumped on with me, they had played the beta for a few days, and they were like, this is garbage. And they went back to Destiny 1 and continued to play Trials that weekend.
Their mistakes, and with a new game built from the ground up, we would be in for a real treat. Then it happened. Destiny's first ever identity crisis. The game was actually well received at first, the campaign was fun, it took us to new locations, and the gunplay of course felt amazing, especially on PC, which finally got a port. It was so good that it single-handedly made my entire friend group swap from Xbox to PC gaming, which was the best decision in my gamer life, by the way. But when the honeymoon phase ended, the other shoe dropped. Destiny 2 had absolutely no replayability at all. You see, with a live service game like Destiny, it really doesn't even matter if the content is good if you just don't have a reason to play it more than once. And even worse, if the only content that does have incentive to replay it...
That was the problem with... Destiny 2's Red War when it came out. Red War was not the problem with Destiny 2. Destiny 2's problem is that it had so little amount of content when it first came out. Half the maps in Crucible. Getting to the lighthouse wasn't even a thing. That didn't come with the base game of Destiny 2. The strike playlists were cut in half. Literally, we went from being on rotation of 16 strikes by the end of Destiny 1 being over, that we went down to 5. Prison of Elders also wasn't a thing either. Prison of Elders, they made it into a strike map. They didn't... Prison of Elders doesn't exist in Destiny 2 right now.
Is boring, then you've got a double whammy of a problem. And that right there was Destiny 2 Year 1. Remember how precious legendaries were? Let alone exotics in Destiny 1? They really lived up to their names. Well, what if we give them to you for free? Constantly.
Yeah.
For example, the best way to earn...
Yeah, Graviton Lance is one of the most given exotics in Destiny 2. I have one on every single one of my characters. It's the easiest one to get, and it's got the highest loot drop chance. You can go to the EDZ and literally walk around completing open air objectives and randomly get one, like every hour, hour and a half. It made the Graviton Lance just... It made it a basic bitch exotic in Destiny 2, which was really, really disheartening.
Exotics at the time was heroic public events. So that's what we would do all day. Just run around the EDZ, farming events. And
I think when you lay it out like this, and he's doing such a good job laying it out like this, who the fuck is making these decisions? Like, these are like game-altering decisions. Who looked at D1, saw the player retention of that, and said, you know what? We could do better.
You guys know where I got the pelt idea for my VTuber model? I literally got it from getting my Hunter hood in Destiny 1 Rise of Iron. That's where I got the pelt idea from my model. Literally. Everything that you guys see on my model that isn't military comes from Destiny. That is how much I love that game. And Division. You combine those two favorite things of mine together, and you got my model. And watching this guy break it down like this by season and expansion really makes you think of where Bungie messed up a lot.
You know what I'm saying? We could do better. We need to change the identity of Destiny, make it super casual. How about everyone does public events? That should be fun.
The raid, Leviathan, was actually really cool. It was our first non-linear styled raid that rotated encounter order weekly with one boss at the end, Robot Emperor Callus. Leviathan was named after the giant ship it was on, which sat ominously in Nessus's skybox. Genuinely 10 out of 10 here on the vibes, Bungie. But there was one big problem here. You see, Bungie wanted D2 to have a focus on competitive PvP. So much so that it, and I'm not exaggerating here, came at the detriment of literally every other part of the game. Your special weapons, gone. You get 2 primaries and 1 heavy weapon. Subclass customization, gone. You get to select between 2 simple trees. Armor perks, gone. Movement speed and ability regen, drastically reduced. Power fantasy, out the window. And worst of all, our randomly rolled legendaries, gone.
Look, Trials blew up, and Bungie went in a completely different direction. Was like, all right, Trials is done blown up. Everybody loves Destiny PvP. We're going to make D2 a competitive PvP shooter. When all they had to do was just keep it the exact same. You know, you literally just have to keep it. No one. And by the way, I don't even know if Bungie was even bringing in people back then, like creators and stuff like that, to just kind of like gauge how they felt about it. But I don't know how a single person in Destiny's community that would have saw static roles and thought to themselves, fantastic.
Yeah. There was not...
Not just that.
There's not a single Destiny player that thought that static rolls on legendaries was fucking cool. Not one.
But one fucking trait? Look at this roll. Under pressure. Under autumn wind. That's it. And see, here's the thing. It's like the team that made this version of Destiny and led the static roll charge and the no special weapons and the subclass trees that were not customizable. Did they not work on fucking Destiny 1? Like, that's the thing. If you worked on D1, then you would clearly know what worked and what didn't work. And I can tell you right now, going from D1 to D2, if you were the team that worked on D1, you would not have made this shit.
Who on earth thought this would ever go over well? I have no idea. But the worst part of it all was that people didn't even like the PvP. It was slow, clunky, team shot oriented, and just missing features.
That's the worst
there were no
part
private
of it.
matches again, and every game mode was 4v4. That means there wasn't even free-for-all rumble. All of these issues would coincide to produce a less fun gameplay loop with very little replayability. I mean, why would you ever replay the raid when you only need to get each weapon and armor piece one time? What was Bungie's answer? To farm consumable shaders. And thus, players quit in droves. The identity of Destiny that Bungie had spent the last 3 years building for us was just completely gone. Now, Curse of Osiris, this will be quick. It was just more of the same. Pretty much nothing changed or got better. And the highlight of the expansion was probably the most infamous meme of the franchise.
I promised before that this was the most rewarding public event. And there we have it. We have 2 chests.
Things wouldn't start turning around until Warmind, and that came out 8 months after launch. I kind of think of this time as D2's House of Wolves. It was like...
But see, like, even Bungie then thought that throwing candy at us is what we were asking for. There's just been this separation of, like, what we as Destiny players found so mesmerizing about Destiny 1. And there's just been it almost feels like this really just huge miscommunication between us and Bungie there for so long to just narrow down on, hey, we found this part of Destiny fun. This is why we played the fuck out of it.
Like a band-aid fix with a promise to lay some better foundations soon. We got a slightly better campaign, destination, and quality of life patches. A perfect example here is we got 6v6 Iron Banner during this time. Everything else was still 4v4, but now we're beginning to enter some goodwill territory. Most people's highlight during this period, though, is Escalation Protocol. And this single-handedly is the first time that Destiny 2 actually got difficult at all. Escalation Protocol takes place on Mars's patrol space, and it was a 7-wave Horde mode that got progressively more and more difficult, as a Horde mode does. But it got so hard, in fact, to even have a shot at beating it, you would have to pseudo-matchmake with other people on patrol to round up a fire team of 9 together to take it on. And what was the reward for this? All eyes were on the shotgun and sniper. These were the first weapons with trench barrel and box breathing. I
Yep.
know, big deal, right? Well, these pre-nerfed versions of those perks easily made them the best weapons in the game. But
Yep.
they were
Yep.
just so rare and hard to get, and the community ate this shit up. The other high point for
Yep.
me of this expansion was the raid layer. Spire of Stars was the hardest raid content probably since King's Fall, and it was just a raid
Yep.
layer. I genuinely think that if the rewards were even half decent at all here, people would look back at this as one of the best raid experiences in D2. And how
Yes.
could we forget the Whisper mission? Dropping out of nowhere on a random
Oh,
Friday
yep.
while doing a taken public event on IO. You'd sometimes have to wait hours to get access to that mission, only to fail and start over and have to wait all over again. But that Whisper of the
Dude,
Oh my god, the
this
whisper
is
of the
where
worm.
I really dislike data mining in this game because
Oh.
we had the
Oh my
mystery
god, I
happen,
remember
the
waiting
surprise.
hours with
Now
Rat
when an
to get
expansion rolls
that.
out, you've got, I mean, you guys
Oh my
coming here,
God.
y'all
I
freaking
called
drop
off of
shit on us all
work
the
for
time.
that
You're
one,
like,
too.
hey, this is going to roll out, this is going to, this is this quest, these are all the steps to the quest. You'll get all the steps to a quest before the quest even comes out.
worm made the chase completely worth it. These wins for Bungie, paired with numerous buffs to player movement and power fantasy in the Go Fast update, actually managed to lift player sentiment. People were trusting them again. The game was
Yeah.
by no means fixed, but we saw the light at the end of the tunnel and actually had content to run in the meantime.
Yep.
Forsaken is when Bungie finally got things back on track. We had new abilities, our special weapons and random rolls were back, and power fantasy fully returned. And
Yep.
the game got dark. Fan favorite character Cade 6 was killed off in the very first mission, which sent us off into the Tangled Shore and eventually Dreaming City to enact our revenge and discover some of Destiny's greatest secrets. And I'm just curious, do you consider Forsaken to be Destiny's greatest expansion of all time? There's a couple other
Pretty damn
contenders,
good,
so
man.
just comment what you think.
Yeah.
During this era, Bungie really leaned into the
Definitely the most
grindy,
dense.
difficult parts of Destiny once more. Grinding activities to get that god roll felt so good after being absent for a year. We got our
Yep.
first dungeon in a raid race so long that its record wouldn't be beaten until final shape 6 years later. RNG was the name of the game once more, including exotics. There were a few quest exotics to earn, but many were rare drops. I remember my friends
The Trinity
freaking out when
Ghoul.
that one-eyed mask finally
Oh
dropped,
my
or when I
God.
finally got my Geomag stabilizers. It took Quentin over 60 runs of Last Wish to get his 1K, and we loved how much he hated it. Bungie's
Yep.
pinnacle weapons from reaching high competitive rank and eventually high ranks in
Luna's
Strikes
Howl.
and Gambit really blurred the line
Ugh.
between legendaries and exotics during this time.
Yep.
Weapons like the Mountaintop Recluse and Wendigo would rule the meta for the year, along with exotics like Anarchy and Izanagi's Burden. We also saw titles being introduced, which was the first time Bungie was truly adding a purely cosmetic, aspirational pursuit specifically for collectors. I think there were
Yeah.
8 that came with Forsaken's launch, and if you didn't play back then, you have no idea how hard these were to get. These
Yeah.
weren't the easy-ass seasonal titles that they hand out for free today, besides maybe 1 or 2 triumphs on it. No, every single triumph in these titles took deliberate time, effort, and dedication to claim. My
Yep.
first title was Wayfarer, the Patrol title, and it took me forever to get. Though I am most proud of getting the Chronicler Lore title. And if you ask me, this is what titles should have remained
Getting the
as.
Will of
Nowadays,
Iron.
only a few titles actually mean you did it.
Oh my gosh, chat. There is a reason why I wear the Will of Iron as my title on Destiny 2. You have no idea how many games of Iron I had to play to even get that shit.
Anything difficult at all. But back then, you respected every single person you saw with the title. Forsaken also brought a new core PvEVP game mode, Gambit. You may laugh at it now, but back in the day, this was supposed
It
to
was
be
the
the new
shit.
big thing for Destiny.
Yep.
Yeah.
It even had a pre-expansion public demo to play in the live game, and I stand by to this day that with a few tweaks and like limitations on loadouts, Gambit could still be awesome. With the 3
Good.
following seasons of Black Armory, Season of the Drifter, and Season of Opulence, we even saw Bungie innovate on endgame activities for the first time since Prison of Elders. Each season brought a
Yep.
completely different, unique endgame farmable experience, each having a distinct loot system. Black Armory and Opulence even brought their own smaller experience raids with them. Scourge of the Past was honestly unlike any other raid we've seen in Destiny, albeit it was too easy. And thankfully,
Yeah.
that lack of difficulty would then lead Bungie to develop Contest Mode, which we still have today, for Opulence's Crown of Sorrow, and it was perfect. All in all, this will probably go down in history as Destiny's strongest year. The devs were really firing on all cylinders. The Secrets of Last Wish's Wish Wall or Black Armory's Niobe Lab puzzle, mixed in with the brand new difficult endgame activities that made you work for your loot, reprised Destiny 1's feeling of earned character progression, now also layered with a collectionist optional pursuits of badges and titles. I'm really trying to fly through these years, so just know that I'm really only covering a very small part of what this had to offer. You just had to be there.
Getting my first Thunderlord in Destiny 2.
Like, Bungie, in terms of what you nailed, like in terms of understanding your player, no expansion spoke more to us than Forsaken. I love Witch Queen. I love Final Shape. Forsaken, though, was the expansion that spoke to me. And I feel like I'm a core player of Destiny, or part of the core player that plays Destiny.
Shadowkeep is probably the first year of Destiny that actually looks similar to the up until now modern version of the game. And as strange as it sounds after just glazing Forsaken like that, this is actually the period of Destiny I'm most nostalgic for. And the period I also have the most great memories within. So Bungie outright told us that Shadowkeep was going to be smaller than Forsaken, now that they had split from Activision and didn't have all the help of High Moon and Vicarious Visions. Destination was a slightly expanded version of Destiny 1's Moon, and the story was mid at best, outside the last mission, which was pretty cool. And even the raid, though, didn't even quite live up to what we were used to. But on the other hand, we had additions like Cross Save, Seasonal Artifacts, Champions, I think they're mostly fine, you guys are just babies, and Armor 3.0, which brought stats back to Armor and replaced the perks on them with slottable mods. Now trust me, the system wasn't great for a while, but it set the foundation for the true RPG-style build crafting like never before seen in the franchise. Oh, and we also got finishers, very cool.
See, this was also the point in time in my YouTubing career when Division 2's build crafting fucking just came to a halt. We only had four exotic gear sets at that point. It was Striker. Oh god. What's the one that came out for Claimer? Then we had the Ortiz Flame Turret one. Oh god, I can't remember what. The one that was for, and True Patriot. True Patriot was the one I couldn't think about. But there was also a sniper one. It was the one doing the card flipping. Oh my god, come on, Kodiak. Don't let your fucking memory fucking crush you right now. Anyway, those were the only 4 gear sets in Destiny 2. And still love my Recluse, though. That SMG was my baby. Yeah, that's true. The Iron Banana is strong with you. Oh my god, you have no idea, dude, how many... I loved Iron Banner, dude, as a PvP mode. It was so good. I thought it was better than Trials. But when Shadowkeep came out, I went back to Destiny because Division's build crafting had gotten completely flatlined, and that's when I stopped making content on YouTube for Division builds and Division 2 builds. And I was like, God, this game is boring again. There's nothing to grind for. The raid fucking blows. Because Division only had 1 raid in it, and if you played it 8 times, you pretty much got the gist of it. So I gave up, and I do miss it at times. Ross, I miss the shit out of Destiny 2 where it was. Miss the fuck out of it.
Wait, boom.
The game also went free to play here, and all of Year 1's content was now free for all players. That's 3 campaigns, 3 raids, all of PvP, and a bunch of other random stuff that I just can't remember. The seasonal model was gearing in shape. It didn't exactly have weekly stories, but it did have seasonal activities, artifact, and even loot distinct from the expansions. And honestly, the seasonal narratives this year were the best part of the year. We had live events, crazy stock market economies, amazing missions, and once again, an evolving world. In Season of Undying, we saw Vex incursions spreading across the moon, bare minimum, but I'll count it. In Dawn, we completed the perfect paradox and literally traveled back in time to save an NPC character who would then help us relight the Trials of Osiris only once we donated enough of the Fractaline seasonal currency. It was like a stock exchange. It was really cool. And then in Worthy, we'd see the Almighty growing closer to Earth each week. And as we armed the Warmind, Rasputin's towers would rise across the EDZ, Moon, and Io. This would culminate in the Tower Live event where we blew that shit up in front of our eyes. And our rivals literally had the Blackfeet. Our rivals literally had the Black Fleet show up on our doorstep for the first time. They invaded Mercury, Mars, Io, and Titan. And on Io, we got regular lore dumps from the Tree of Silver Wings, from who we now know to be the Witness. This season ended with yet another live event in the last city with the Traveler.
God, dude, I didn't think. I mean, like, Shadowkeep wasn't on the same level, wasn't on the scope as Forsaken, but in terms of propelling the story forward, and it was also one of the few times that we really gave Bungie like so much grace. Like the Destiny community gave Bungie, because we knew, we like, hey, you guys are on your own, you're independent now. We gave them so much grace with Shadowkeep. We had faith, man.
Healing itself and pushing away the Black Fleet, which just took all the planets that would end up being vaulted. That's right. Content vaulting actually had a lore foundation, but it was kind of cool at the time. So this year we kind of saw a slight push towards a more casual Destiny, which I think comes hand in hand with the seasonal model. When stuff isn't going to stick around anymore, it just makes sense for things to be easier to obtain. I get that mindset. Pinnacle weapons even became ritual weapons, which no longer had an exotic style perk. We saw exotics become easier to get, mainly being quest focused now. And we also only got the one raid and one dungeon for the whole year, with no updates to them. While the seasonal content was poppin', and Trials of Osiris was really fun during this time, endgame PvE was starting to find a smaller, more niche, and in my opinion, kind of worse role in the game. Nightfall's...
Let me say this. Trials was terrible. That shit was awful. No, guys. The version of Trials you play now is a version of Trials that has some barriers. Paywall, a somewhat functioning anti-cheat. Back then, ain't nothing existed there. You realize in a single core, you would run into like arguably 40% cheaters. Disregard the metas. It's not like, look, the metas is one thing, but the cheaters were awful.
Became Nightfall, the ordeals.
That's exactly why people stopped playing Trials of Osiris, because you had literally a 40% chance of running into a cheater, and why would you want to fuck up your Pinnacle run because of a fucking cheater? It was useless. It was useless work, and people didn't want to do it. I mean, it's one thing if a game is hard, but if somebody cheating is the reason why you fail, you just don't want to do it anymore.
Which had difficulty levels similar to what you'd see today, all the way up to Master.
God's Trials, you had to pick the right time to play to avoid the cheating.
These are mainly all meant to just farm the new enhancement prisms and Ascendant Shard materials used for Armor 3.0. And as a side note, GMs are also way harder back then compared to what they are today. I don't really know where else to put this in, but I do want to mention the rise in FOMO this year. You see, seasons didn't just go away at the end of an expansion cycle. They would be removed the following season, and they stuck with that the whole year. The one exception to the casualification of the game this year came in the Season of Dawn's community puzzle, which took thousands of people 6 days to solve for a pretty awesome conclusion, which I won't go into here. If Shadowkeep is where the Destiny of today first came into sight, Beyond Light is where the community of today first came into sight. And honestly, it's hard to blame them. Beyond Light hit us with the double whammy of gear sunsetting and content vaulting. Gear sunsetting just...
Beyond Light is when I stopped playing Destiny. Because you literally took everything that I had earned for the past 2.5 years and you took it from me. It was such a shot to the balls. All the hard work that you did, Bungie just was like, we gotta get rid of it. Activision, at this time, was the most hated enemy in the Bungie community. We absolutely hated them. We didn't like them. We thought that they were doing it specifically for money. This is when you saw like most of the paywalls start to come up in Destiny. Literally, it was Beyond Light.
Meant that a weapon or armor piece only had a lifespan of a year from its release before it could no longer be infused any higher. And content vaulting was Bungie taking chunks of the game that weren't relevant anymore away from us and throwing them into the dumpster. Oh, you paid for this stuff? Too bad. Read the terms and conditions next time, buddy. I still remember how few weapons there were at launch too. People were not happy. No one had any loot. Eventually, Bungie would reverse sunsetting, but content vaulting is still with us to this day, and it's bad. In just one day, we lost 3 campaigns, 5 raids, 4 patrols, and a bunch of strikes and Crucible maps, and plenty more. All of these bad decisions.
Guys, there had to have been a better alternative. Like, looking back on it now, like, there had to have been a better alternative.
Decisions really soured the Destiny community, despite the content of Beyond Light actually being pretty good. The story, while not great, was significantly better than Shadowkeep's. The raid was a fan favorite, including some amazing music, set pieces, and unforgettable moments. We got our first Darkness subclass 2 in Stasis, and it even had an entirely new subclass customization system instead of the boring trees we talked about earlier. We even got crossplay to finally bridge the gap between platforms. And that stupid decision to have seasons vault themselves every 3 months, removed. Even Vault the Glass returned. And to be real with you, this time was just a blur for me. PvP was in a horrible state because of Stasis. The seasonal cycle that we'd have for the next 3 years was now set in stone. You log in every week, you play the seasonal story, and then you grind the activity. And there wasn't much more beyond that. The seasonal stories were really good, the strongest we'd seen yet, but besides that, it was kind of a copy-paste year of the year of Shadowkeep, but with lower community sentiment due to the aforementioned circumstances. I don't think it's a hot take to say that the worst thing that ever happened to Destiny was the content vault. And one of the reasons for that is what I want to talk about next, the onboarding experience. See, when the entirety of year 1 got the boot, so did the game's tutorial and onboarding campaign experience. Bungie's solution? Bring back the Cosmodrome, first mission of D1, and do some bare minimum shit on top of that, and call it a day. This is to say, the game had such a bad onboarding experience now that it might as well have not had one at all. If you ever wonder why Destiny has such an old player base and dwindling player population, this is why. Nobody can start playing anymore comfortably. I'll also mention that to me, this is the first time that the game felt more transactional and gamey, if that makes sense.
See,
despite still feeling great, the illusion of...
He hit the exact point that I made earlier when I paused it. Pretty much could have been a better alternative to doing things. I was a little miffed at it. You know what, Ross? You know how you... There will always be 2 games that make me eternally sad. The Division and Destiny. What the Division did after Warlords of New York just crushed me. But Division 2's problems are bigger than Bungie's problems are. Like, way, way worse.
Destiny being the experience where you never know what's around the next corner or what you might find next is shattered when you have the game being chopped up in front of your eyes and perfectly good gear you've earned and had for years become unusable overnight because Bungie had to place an arbitrary number cap on them just so they could lazily keep us on a treadmill. In a world full of seasonal roadmaps that promise us specific loot and quests on specific dates, the aura of mystery and discovery I was praising Destiny for earlier in this video had vanished. And don't get me wrong, my buddies and I were still having a blast, but the game to consumer relationship had subconsciously shifted overnight. Many see Witch Queen as some of Bungie's best work, and while I'm not entirely disagreeing, I have some choice words to say about a few changes made during this time. They will be moderately hot takes to some. Starting with the objective good, the campaign. Not only did Bungie make their best Destiny campaign yet, but they also introduced a legendary difficulty, which brought revive tokens, enemies that actually fought back, including the new Hive Guardians, and really well thought out and lengthy boss fights. Even in their marketing, you could tell Bungie was trying to capture a new audience, the narrative players. Players that would buy the expansion primarily or even solely for the campaign. Maybe they'd stick around after that, maybe not. How well did this work? Well, we have no idea, only Bungie knows that. And for all these new enemies, what did Bungie give us to fight them? Well, let me introduce you to the Glaive and Void 3.0. That's right, throughout the year, Bungie would update all of our subclasses to the new 3.0 subclass system, introducing new aspects, melees, sometimes grenades and supers too, and all for free. This probably confused the fuck out of new players and extreme casuals, but Bungie. While most players were
Guys, it was so good though. It was good. The game, every 3 months, it was just, when you added those 3.0 subclasses in, Holy shit. 3.0 needed to happen? Without a doubt.
Yes.
I mean, let's also be real. You know, Witch Queen / Beyond Light, that could have been D3, be honest. Like, they could have, oh man, just looking back, could have kept everything into a D2, move on to the next game. Boom. Now we're going to do a D3 with all the new subclasses. You know what I mean? But then you had, at this point in time, you still had a number of people that didn't want to say goodbye, even to some of their old loot, even though things were getting sunset. They wanted to hang on to their same characters, everything else. I just don't think sacrificing Destiny's onboarding was worth that. Looking back now, I just don't think it was worth that.
No, it wasn't.
Happy with this period of time.
Everybody was talking about it, how it was horrible to start off a new character.
I realized that with this new red border system, I could give two shits about most weapon drops I'd get. Seasonal content felt like a checklist to me, just to get all the weapons craftable and never play that content again. Which, as a completionist with...
You fuckers made me get that hair, alright? Y'all made me get that hair. That was
space was great, but as someone who actually...
I remember donating to you, Cross, so that shit would happen. I got to watch you with blonde hair for a fucking month.
We played the game for the grind, man. The grind. I felt like something was way off. I know the player base is pretty much 50-50 split on the crafting situation, so I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments. Be nice. Honestly, I'm not even married to an opinion on it anymore. Season of the Haunted also brought back the Leviathan, but not as a permanent space. It was kind of a temporary patrol-ish space for the seasonal activity, and I'm about to sound like a real crybaby here, but I don't care. I don't like the trend of temporarily bringing back old destinations just for a seasonal activity. This is honestly not a big offender in that regard, because it was around for most of the year and basically was a patrol zone, but this will change in the future, so I'm planting that seed now. And if you were a PvP player during this time, you'd be struggling. While Subclass 3.0 wasn't nearly as gnarly as Stasis in its prime, it still wasn't a pretty sight. Even worse, you'd have more luck finding a drop of water in the Sahara Desert than finding any new maps coming to the game. Though in Haunted, we finally got our first new map in 805 days, and it was Disjunction. Take it back, Bungie, you can keep that one. Bungie would instead put PvP death time into kind of weird game modes that nobody really cares for. I appreciate the effort, but 95% of the player base only wants to play Control and Trials. Anything outside of that, unless you've got a real banger, just seems like a lot of wasted death time. And maybe that's a hot take for me. I even like a lot of the content.
No, that's not a wasted take. Destiny 2's PvP literally revolves around those two things, and the PvP team tried to make too much with too little. Literally.
Year of Witch Queen felt like Bungie
Man,
found
I
a
do
new,
miss
nice
running my
flow
old
in
handle
raid
in
and dungeon
D2.
content. We were getting into
The
the
3.0
3.0
change was beyond awesome. It was beyond awesome because build crafting came back.
To Duality to King's Fall to Spire of the Watcher, and if it weren't for these
What up,
activities
Galactic?
specifically, I think the community would look at Witch Queen as nothing revolutionary.
I do
was
miss
good, but
running
nothing was
my
really
old handle.
changing. No harm
Blah,
in that front by any
distinction
means,
should
but when I
have
continue
never
mentioning how the
existed.
game started
Yeah,
to feel
well,
more
Friday
transactional,
on,
this is what I mean.
the
You
Activision
paid for the
devs
year,
that.
you get the formula. The formula hardly changes. The formula was holding so strong, in fact, that we noticed that year after year, the middle of the year season was always the weakest, followed by the very strong final season leading into the next expansion. Like clockwork. And before we head on over to Lightfall, it sounds like I really hated Witch Queen. I loved Witch Queen. Season of the Seraph and its awesome send-off.
Yes, Bungie has always loaded their final season. Why? Because they want pre-orders for the next annual expansion. That's why those seasons are always better.
You get the formula. The formula hardly changes. The formula was holding so strong, in fact, that we noticed that year after year, the middle of the year season was always the weakest, followed by the very strong final season leading into the next expansion. Like clockwork. And before we head on over to Lightfall, it sounds like I really hated Witch Queen. I loved Witch Queen. Season of the Seraph and its awesome send-off into Lightfall was one of my all-time favorite moments in the Destiny franchise. And for those who weren't around, we had an amazing season finale mission that involved us preventing the Witness's forces from blowing up the Traveler by literally sacrificing Rasputin. And the finale cutscene looks like something straight out of the minds of Destiny's original creators, where the Traveler leaves the last city, goes to orbit, recreates the OG Destiny Traveler art, and plants its metaphorical feet in the ground to ultimately make its final stand against the Black Fleet. Absolutely phenomenal. I have no notes. 10 out of 10 Bungie. Surely Lightfall is going to be a banger too.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And here he goes. He's gonna go into how Destiny
All right, I'll
sucked.
cut right to it. Lightfall killed any positive momentum that the game had gained. The campaign was fun, gameplay-wise, but was narratively a complete tone-deaf mess with annoying
Yep.
and/or quippy characters. Nobody liked it.
Yep.
We all remember Bife's infamous video that was basically a WTF happened analysis to Bungie. And we hit peak player counts too, unfortunately. So
Yes.
everyone had to see that. This was supposed to be...
God, dog it, man. He's like when you fuck up, you hope it's when you have the lowest player count ever, right?
Yeah.
So no one sees that shit. I think like, that's what you hope for. But the fact that everyone saw it, we were at record numbers.
Yeah.
Our Infinity War moment, and they
Yep.
dropped the ball hard. Even the raid was a joke. One of the easiest
Yeah.
they've ever made. And most buggy.
You know how easy it was? I played it fucking once and I never played it again. I literally beat it once. I literally told Rat, hey man, we're never gonna touch this again. Don't ever have me touch this content with you again. Literally played it once. I haven't gotten the exotic from that fucking raid. And I hope to God I never have to.
E2. True story. On day one contest mode of this raid, we found it was easiest if our friend Harley just soloed the mechanics of the first encounter,
my
while the
God.
other 5 of us did nothing but add clear. And it was
Yep.
basically like that for the entire raid.
Yep.
1 to 2 people doing mechanics, while everyone else shoots Cabal in the face, and that's all. The only
Yep.
good encounter was the planets encounter, because it was the only one that was actually a
good.
raid encounter.
Yep.
I have no idea why this happened, but it did, so I'm including it. Most of the expansion...
And keep in mind, they claim that the planet's encounter was pulled from Salvation's Edge. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was just a theory. I'm just saying if that was not in the raid, it would have been the worst raid.
Yeah, it would have been the worst raid ever. Me and Rat did it. We did it with like 4 other people in my Discord back when it was like 5 people. And I looked at Rat and I was like, bro, I can't even post this. I can't even do anything with the content that we got because we literally figured it out in 2 minutes. We figured it out on the first run, bro. It's not even hard. It's literally a raid full of ad clear. And he was like, yeah, I know. You're not going to play Destiny 2 anymore, are you? And I looked at him and while we were in Discord together, and I was just like, probably fucking not. And he's like, well, you already stayed off Division. Now you're staying off Destiny. What the fuck are we going to play? And I was like, dude, I don't know.
Raid in history.
Yeah, then I moved to California. And I didn't do content for almost a year and a half.
1 to 2 people doing mechanics, while everyone else shoots Cabal in the face, and that's all. The only good encounter was the planets encounter, because it was the only one that was actually a raid encounter. I have no idea why this happened, but it did, so I'm including it. Most of the expansion just felt, I guess, directionless. And it was kind of the first time where I had no idea what Bungie's vision was for the DLC,
Yep.
assuming there even was a vision. The universe's death was literally on our doorstep, but nobody was acting like it. We're fighting through this supposed hidden vast neon cityscape filled with survivors of the collapse, yet it was small and completely empty. We have these new player
Yep.
commendations and guardian ranks to prove how helpful and experienced you are as a player, but they're all just meaningless and...
Yep. Pretty much participation trophies. Again, the casual player got more love because they whined and cried in Bungie's fucking forums. Lightfall was everything wrong with gaming. It was literally when they tried to introduce woke into Destiny. That's what Lightfall was, and everybody hated it. Let's give everybody participation trophies. Let's give them titles that take nothing to earn. Let's just give everybody everything when they buy it.
annoying. Like, if I want to get to Guardian rank 11, why do I need to prove that I can get a bunch of blue commendation ratings? How does that prove my worth as a player in any way? Thankfully, we did get 3 really cool features with Lightfall: Strand, Tormentors, and Loadouts. Whoever is in charge of these, good work, promotions for you. Everyone else, what the fuck happened? Well, actually, that's not true.
Everyone else, what the fuck happened?
true, I did love the music, and it annoys me that some of my favorite Destiny 2 music is now tied to the worst narrative I've ever played. Lightfall seasons were strong, maybe besides Defiance, but the expansion tie-in seasons have never been good. My only gripe is we got more of the, we're gonna bring back this destination, but only in the seasonal activity. And this time it was Titan. Just let me patrol Titan. Seriously though, at least the dungeons this year were awesome. Definitely my favorites in the whole franchise. And Crota's End was...
Yeah, the dungeons were actually not that bad, but, like, I didn't go back to Destiny just because the campaign sucked. It was fucking Wokemania and Destiny. We wanted to try and put pride in there. See, the things that he's not, like, the small little microtransactions that he's not talking about. There was a transgender flag thing going on throughout the whole entire thing. There was a whole entire event wrapped around Pride when it came to Crucible. Bungie let me down in so many ways with Lightfall. It was just I couldn't play it. I couldn't do it. I didn't play all of Lightfall at all.
Super fun and difficult on contest mode.
Everyone else
seasons answered a lot of Lightfall's questions, which I guess was better than not answering them at all.
Same thing happened with WoW. All started going downhill
very
after
nicely,
after
but not
Wrath.
as nicely as into them.
Why did Activision decide to like tank all of its games? It's like Activision and Ubisoft in the same year, they just decided, we're just going to shoot ourselves in the foot. It's like their fucking CEO of Activision Blizzard was a goddamn fucking retard when he decided to go up there and make these decisions. Fucking fat-ass Bobby.
The Light. You can't see my script, but I'm giving Into the Light its own subheading as if it were an actual expansion, because it was that fucking good. You see, Bungie needed a big delay for the final shape, so they filled the gap with a completely free-to-play update focused solely on people who want a challenge to gear up for the biggest bad we've ever fought, and they delivered big time. Into the Light focused on 3 major activities. I'll start first with Onslaught, Destiny's first wave-style horde mode. Set on Earth-based Crucible maps, Onslaught would have us fighting wave over wave of baddies while earning scrap to build up defenses around the ADU. If the ADU breaks, you go to orbit, but every 10 rounds, you'd have a boss fight that would drop loot. And at wave 50, you win, and you get bonus rewards. And it was hard. You think you're doing fine, then a giant fucking tormentor spawns next to you, sucks the light out of your friend, and body slams you into the ADU. Back to orbit. Some of the most iconic weapons from Destiny 2's past are back and better than ever. And there's Hung Jury. And you could even get rare shiny versions with double perks. We also had a custom social space for it to attune specific weapons. Amazing. Bungie also finally unvaulted the Whisper and Outbreak missions, making the weapons craftable with new perks that pushed them beyond what they were previously capable of. And they even changed the missions up a little bit, which I appreciated. And lastly, the best part about Into the Light was Pantheon. Week after week for 1 month, we got a boss rush gauntlet for most of Destiny 2's past raids.
Oh my god. When I got back into Destiny 2, it was a week before this whole entire update happened, and I didn't play it for the first 2 days, and then I went into fucking the reserves that weekend when I was out there in California, and one of my sergeant buddies came up to me and was like, hey man, I heard you're into Destiny 2. You should try that shit out again. And I was like, nah, man, Lightfall was garbage. Why would I even boot that the fuck up again? And he was like, dude, just do it. When you get home after we're done with the day, just do it, dude. You got nothing to do on a Saturday night anyway, because you can't drink. You're literally the non-alcoholic person, so you're not going to be like the rest of us degenerates. Turn it on, bro. It's gonna surprise you. And little did I know, it did. It surprised the shit out of me.
And each week would add
Pantheon
1 or 2
was so
more
peak,
bosses to the gauntlet and would be at a higher and higher power level until it all culminated on week 4, which was some of the hardest and most fun raiding I've ever had to do in my life. See, not only did you have to complete each encounter, but if you were trying to get the title, emblems, and bragging rights, you had to reach a score threshold too, meaning you had to do each encounter in under a certain amount of time. This usually just meant you had to 2-phase the boss. Most of the encounters were also critically changed, forcing you to interact with more mechanics and invest in survivability. Remember Rolk? Now there's fucking 2 of them. Exploits were also fixed, so no more cheesing Riven or Nezarec. Nezi became a still buggy but chaotic firefight where every player truly had to fight for their lives. Not Rolk though, that guy got yeeted. And on these endeavors, you'd be showered in spoils of conquests, raid weapons, including depths, red borders, and that title. And what was the title called? Godslayer.
Yes.
Still rocking it to this day, baby. Even PvP players are throwing a bone because we got a 3-map pack dropping around this time. All 3 maps were actually pretty good, praise the Lord. And while this fully didn't recover the player count, those who played felt appreciated. Especially for a free update, this would go down as some of the most hyped time in Destiny. And Bungie, thank you for that. And don't you...
It was such a small time frame too. It's
Yeah.
amazing to me how good Into the Light was in such a small time frame. It was the perfect lead up into Final Shape.
Yep.
It could not have gone any better. The momentum that like shifted in Bungie's favor around this time, guys. Like they really were able to.
It is because of this that anybody bought Final Shape. It is literally because of this that people bought Final Shape. I bought Final Shape because of this. Which fit their profile, go into the last season, it'll be epic and dope, and it'll make you get enough endorphins and adrenaline in your brain so that you spend $65 on their fucking next update. Yeah. I was one of those dudes. I bent the knee to fucking Bungie and Activision after they gave me Lightfall. I had a little bit of hope left.
Recapture a lot of the momentum they lost with Lightfall. Here's the issue though, and then we kind of saw this go down the road with the rest of their developments. Bungie's really tried to recapture Into the Light, but what if Into the Light was truly successful because of Final Shape? Because we had context for why it was we were doing Pantheon, why it was we were doing Onslaught. We wanted the best possible gear that we could have. Even if we don't even use 95% of what we get, we want to have it just in case, because right around the corner, we've got the most dangerous bad guy we've ever dealt with. We had purpose. Like all the game-wide, we had purpose.
Everybody wanted this motherfucker on the screen right now to die. Everybody wanted him to die. We put all of us Destiny players put all of our goddamn anger and malice for everything horrible that happened in Destiny 2, and we all focused it as this one face, the fucking Witness. We all wanted this fucking guy to die. And we wanted him to die in one of the most brutal ways possible because of the whole entire roadmap of Destiny 2. A good 60% of it was awful. And we all blamed it on this fucking dude. Literally going into the last entire week of Pinnacle and all that, everybody was like, yep, I'm going to kill the fucking Witness. I'm going to take all my anger out that I have for Bungie Entertainment, and I'm going to take it out on this motherfucker. That means I want the best shit so that I can shove a gallon horn into this guy's right fucking eye and I can blow him to pieces. Yeah. That's where the community was at 1 week before Final Shape came out.
Don't you worry, there's a little bit more glaze coming up.
I'm so glad I never played those games.
I think that in 5 years' time or so, people will realize that this may have been Destiny's absolute peak, even if...
Leon, I am the best gamer I am when I am playing an MMO looter shooter. I absolutely love them. And the two that I love the most was The Division and Destiny. And both of them let me down and broke my heart in ways you could not even fathom. Destiny did it. Division 2 did it. You guys don't even see me game on, Division 2 anymore. I don't even put it up on my streams anymore. I play that when I'm offline from you guys because I'm so embarrassed by where it is right now that I don't even want to show you guys how heartbroken I am when I play that game. Because I am. I'm heartbroken by Division 2. I say that because I would have never felt the same way you do now. Yeah. Yeah. Because you got to remember the two games that I love the most I started in high school, bro. Division and Destiny were like my life. I was not a COD person. I was not a Medal of Honor person. I was a Guardian and I was a Division agent. That's what the two things that I was. And it just sucks that these companies just took something so great and turned it into a shit show. And I've had to spend my entire adult life, dude, watching them take these franchises and do so many stupid things with them and I actually went back and actually tallied how much I put into both of those games. I put around roughly $5,500 into the 2 games that I love over the span of the last like 17, 18 years. Yeah. $5,000. I've given Bungie for Destiny, I've given them about over 3, and I've given Ubisoft just about 2.5. Yep. And that's why it breaks my heart. Because I did the jobs that I did with the paychecks that I got to get these. And they ended up just shitting the bed. And it sucks. Peepoo sad. Yeah. I played Destiny since middle school. It's been rough. You're right there with me, Galactic.
If it was short-lived. There's not much that Final Shape did wrong. We got Prismatic, a new enemy faction, the Dread, exotic class items, allowing you to combine specific parts of other exotics together, new weapon types, and Destiny's best campaign yet. The destination was surreal and very different from anything we'd seen before, which is ironic because it's literally a physical manifestation of our Guardian's memories along with a few other characters. Cade 6 was back, but in an emotionally complex and satisfactory way that didn't only fit
We
the
are
narrative,
going
but
to raid
supported
Leaflet,
it.
guys,
We
after
even
this is
matched
over.
Lightfall's player count, and damn, if Lightfall weren't such a shit show, we could have blown it out of the water. This is also Destiny's first and currently only linear destination built to fit the campaign, and man, it helped.
Yep.
Every mission ended with you camped out closer and closer to the Witness's looming monolith. And through the campaign, we'd unlock more and more upgrades for our new Prismatic subclass, allowing us to combine aspects, fragments, and abilities from all of our other elemental subclasses and mix them together.
Dude, this shit was so hype. Y'all remember
It
the
was.
first time we saw Prismatic? Y'all
Yeah.
remember that? I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. Bungie was giving us the thing that we would just fantasize about. Just like when you talk about like, hey, what would make Destiny really cool? People would say like, oh, mixing all my subclasses together. That sounds pretty cool. But no one actually thought that would ever become a real thing. We just said it because we thought it was fucking cool. Anime as hell. And then it happened.
For new effect.
The thing that really gets you about Prismatic is that, yeah, if you were part of the community, yeah, you always threw it out there. What happened if we combined everything that we have gotten so far into one subclass? And it was nothing more than a pipe dream to us. And when they actually did it, when I actually played Final Shape's campaign for the first time, it was me and Rat. And when we made it to that first boss in the old D1 tower, we literally had to take a pause. We literally sat the first checkpoint before you get into that fight, right before you enter the D1 tower. Me and Rad just stood there and absorbed it with that music, and we were just like, dude, we haven't seen this tower in like fucking 10 years. And he's like, yeah, man, back when I was playing games with you when I was just like 12 years old and you were like 16. Yeah. We haven't seen it since we were kids. That is exactly, you know, the defining moment that happened. That I was like, yep, I got hope for Destiny again.
Honestly, what a great idea to just make familiar abilities feel 100% fresh and new, and to find a new home for a lot of them in the sandbox. But we also would get a new aspect and super for each class on top of that. So your Prismatic subclass still had new toys to destroy the battlefield with. This expansion didn't just innovate on subclasses exotics in the campaign though, it innovated on individual missions. Firstly, after the raid, the final campaign mission was 12 players, involved mini raid mechanics, and had NPC allies of all factions fighting alongside us, bookended with insane cutscenes. This was our endgame, it felt like that, it was perfect. And if you wanted those exotic class items, look no further than Dual Destiny. A 2-player cooperative timed mission involving puzzle solving in the middle of a pretty tough combat cycle. I know a lot of solo players were upset that they needed to play with someone to get these exotic class items, but guys, that's the point. Destiny from the very beginning was always meant to push you outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
If you wanted to get Thorn in D1, you'd better be prepared to play a lot of PvP and get good at it, because dying loses progress. Then, go take on a crazy hard mission of the Summoning Pit Strike to kill a high value target. Or
Yep.
if you wanted malfeasance back in the day, you had to play a shit ton of Gambit. And when that meatball finally showed up, you and your team better fight your little hearts out to steal the kill from the enemies. Destiny's at its best when you aren't alone, when you have something to strive towards.
Yep.
You need a fire team to save the world. So get out of Solo Ops Caldera and go play a raid. And if you're looking for a tough one, let me introduce you to Salvation's Edge.
Yeah.
Finally, a raid that took even longer to beat than Last Wish at almost
my
19
God.
hours. And only that one team beat it in the first day. Let me make that clear. The second place team took 25 hours to clear. Now
Yep.
that's the raid scene I love. Not to
Guys, I can't express to you how much I aged during this raid. I'm pretty sure.
Dude, that was back when that was back in the day when I was still watching that one goth UK chick VTuber. I literally got my Destiny 2 badge on Twitch watching her do the whole entire raid. Again, another day that I took off just so that I could watch that chick fucking beat it.
All of my health problems came about because of this raid. And we got some issues going on, but it's all good. But absolutely worth it. You hear me? Absolutely fucking worth it.
brag or anything, but my team did make it all the way to Witness on contest mode. In truth, playing Final Shape made me feel as close to experiencing Destiny again for the first time as I'll probably ever feel. The world felt wild, alive, and changing. There were secrets to discover, such as hidden chests in the world to unlock new prismatic abilities, assist mini-missions where you'd be guided by birds made of light, and several exotics and catalysts to unlock by exploring the world. Every mission felt inspired and distinct from the previous. The loot was amazing. Prismatic was thrilling. The Dread were terrifying. The activities were all fresh, and there were payoffs that were years in the making. And this is in stark contrast to the seasonal episodes that would follow. Echoes was forgettable at best. Revenant was a little better on the narrative front, though still had some questionable decisions. And fortunately, though, the year would end very strong with Heresy, our return to the Dreadnought, and the Ghost of Oryx. As this year went on, Bungie also pulled back on crafting, where eventually we had double and triple perk drops and shiny variants in its place. I loved this in Heresy so much. Every single run of the Nether or Court of Blades would offer me a chance to get a super god roll. Did I need it? No. Did I really want it? Yeah. My only complaint is, once again, they brought back the Dreadnought only for the seasonal activity. But I digress. Surely the loot system will stay this good, right?
No.
And here we finally are at today, the Edge of Fate. Quite the appropriate name for the game that currently has an uncertain future. Now I'm gonna rip into this DLC, but let me first say that I at least appreciate
Edge of Fate fucking sucks.
that Bungie did try to shake things up, but this ain't it,
the
Chief.
loot runs
so
that
much
made
change
hunting
that I'm gonna
so
have to
much
speed run
fun.
through this,
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean
exactly.
that each change listed here isn't monumental.
Gods, this one was
Number
a pain
one,
in the rear.
bye-bye
Yeah,
Dread.
I know, right?
Yep, that planet screen that everyone's been interacting with for 11 years, Sunset, it's still there, but no new or modern content is put there anymore. For
Nope.
that, you get this Hulu Roku looking screen called the Portal. Is it easier to
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we got the portal, guys. Got the fucking portal. If you think that the portal was great for Destiny, I will slap you in the face. If you say that to my face, I will open hand slap you, and yeah, you can put me in jail for it. I will open hand slap you in the mouth. And I'll be like, did that feel good? Did that feel good when that stupid shit came out your mouth? Huh? You like the fucking portal in Destiny. You little fucking bitch.
understand? Sure.
Ah,
Is it
yes.
ugly
Make the
soulless
menu
and makes me
screen
not
look
want
like
to
the
interact with
shit
the game
and have
anymore?
no character.
Somehow, yes. The only positive thing about it is you can fully customize activity modifiers and difficulty, but
Yeah.
even then, I will still always prefer pre-selected modifiers. When I select an activity, I want to adapt my skill set and loadout to what best suits that activity. With the portal, you do it the other way around. Now I could just use the same OP build in every single activity, and I'm actually incentivized to do so. And instead of ever just clicking on activity and starting it, I now have to go through like 4 sub-screens to select the right modifiers. So fun. But hey, I could just go play through the director and farm the gear there, right? Number 2, the loot problem. No, you can't. At least not for the new stuff. You see,
Yep.
new gear is a bonus applied to any stuff that drops post Edge of Fate. New gear weapons and armor also provide you with an increase in defense and weapon damage. And some activities even require only new gear loadouts. Plus,
And guess what Kodiak did again? He stopped playing Destiny. I didn't even buy this update, actually. I didn't even buy it. I waited. I bought Final Shape, and I waited for a couple of my old buddies, and this is where technically I started my VTuber career. I was busy playing other stuff. I didn't even think about Destiny. I was like, Final Shape's over. Why am I going to play whatever they're going to come up with? Destiny 3 is going to come out. We ended the Light and Dark saga. We took the big old baddie down. We completed the raid. Yippee freaking skippy. All right, now I just have to wait for Destiny. And then, the news came out, and I was like, oh, great, so it's going to be the fucking Lightfall until Destiny 3 comes out. And then they're going to come up with something epic right there at the end, the week before, Destiny 3 comes out, and then I'm going to have to play it, buy that, and I was just like, yeah, I'm done with this now.
Plus, New Gear has this tiered rating system offering enhanced perks, magazines, barrels, mods, and even origin traits as you progress in the tiers.
Yep.
Cool on paper, but there are two glaring problems here. The first is that you can only get this gear from the aforementioned horrible portal screen. The second issue is tied to number 3. The leveling. You see, Bungie wanted power level to be the main grind in Edge of Fate. Everything in the portal levels you up, and once you get to higher and higher power levels, you get higher and higher tiers of loot. Outside of once more forcing you to play the portal to progress, this also meant that tier 5s drop like candy and have no meaning once you reach higher power levels. Bungie was going to, I guess, address this by having seasonal power resets, but that's such a horrible decision that they walked that back too. So I guess we're just perma tier 5 Guardians now. And with triple perks in each column, you just get your god roll in 2 to 3 drops max now. And this is a small nitpick, but I actually hate how everything is blue. I look at my inventory and all the tier 5 weapons look the exact same. I know you could take off the ornament, but I wish they were just off by default or were something other than just all looking blue. What's really funny is we literally have 2 rarity systems built into the game now. Common, uncommon, rare, legendary, exotic, but then now we also have 5 sub-rarities of legendaries, maybe even more depending on how you count them. My only other issue with the
Y'all don't like the blue?
No.
And again, Bungie took what worked in Into the Light, and they're like, let's apply this to the entire game. But that's when I circle back to, was Into the Light successful because of the context of Final Shape? It being the build-up for Final Shape. You see what I mean?
is that it's pretty much just split between these 4
Yeah, Cross, we get what you're trying to say, but 90% of the Destiny community, we were like, we beat the big baddie, here comes Destiny 3, not, hey, Bungie, we're going to roll out 2 more freaking expansions that are absolute dog doo-doo and not even worth $10 of their original price of $65 a pop. Hell, the only reason why I got Renegades is because it's Star Wars theme and I got a fucking cool lightsaber. I'm not even looking to go after the other colors of the lightsaber. I just wanted the fucking lightsaber and say, hey, I've got a fucking lightsaber in Destiny 2. I paid $60 for that.
pools now. Solo
Suck it,
ops,
nerds.
Team ops, Pinnacle ops, and Crucible. I mean, the fact that you can play Warlord's Ruin, Duality, Onslaught, and then the Coil, and you've still never left the same loot pool is just insane to me. The loot just all feels samey now, especially when it's all blue. So remember how I said Destiny was starting to feel more transactional? This is the worst it's ever been in that department. Eververse is filled with at least feels like more armor sets than we actually have in the base game. The mystery and exploratory nature that Destiny once had has now been filled with the Hulu menu. Long-term aspirational gear chases have been replaced by a 4-minute solo op run to get a perfect god-rolled meta.
They made it into COD. They literally took the COD formula and applied it to Destiny, and you can't do that with an MMO. What works in a FPS game does not work in an MMO, even though it is a first-person shooter, you dum-dums at Bungie.
Meta weapon, first try, and I hate to be that guy, but I feel like so much
$60
time
for a
goes into
lightsaber
adding
in a
more
video
and more
game is
menus to
insane. I
UI
know,
for little
Viking.
to no reason, when there are such bigger issues the game.
But I'm a Star Wars fan, too. I was kind of curious when it came to Renegades, what the hell they would, you know, put into Destiny to kind of like tie the worlds together, I was like, huh. Maybe they'll make this good because they have to, because at least Disney will tell them to make something good. Nope. Nope.
Game has. I don't want to spend all this time in these menus anymore. I just want to play the game, man. But now even that requires more sub-menus. There were parts of this expansion I really did like. The narrative was very intriguing to me, even though it's a little different. Kepler is pretty cool, nothing outstanding, but different enough for me to appreciate it. And while exploring Kepler in the early days, I felt a hint of that D1 mystery sauce that I kept bringing up. The new armor system is also great. I haven't played with any of the set bonuses yet, but I do intend to. And the raid seems pretty cool, especially the epic variant. I was out of town for the contest mode, and my friends don't really play anymore though, so unfortunately, it's Destiny's first raid that I still haven't done. I can't say anything good about the mid-season update. Ash and Iron. Oh this is embarrassing.
God, that was
They marketed
horrible.
these mid-season updates as around the scope of Into the Light, and I'm offended by that comparison. We got 3 reskins of one soulless activity in a weird hybrid version of the Plaguelands and Cosmodrome. There's no exploration as you hit these invisible walls when you try to, and we would teleport between the normal-ass Cosmodrome and snowy Plaguelands without any plague. We weren't even fighting Fallen, let alone Siva splicers, and no Iron Lords were present at all. When they first announced this, I was more hyped for Ash and Iron than I was for Edge of Fate. But wow, I feel like this is the most gimmicky, cheap update I've ever...
Siva isn't a dead state. This is Siva in its dead state. Okay, disregarding Siva, the point is that the Plaguelands as a whole feels like a watered down, like disregarding like the aesthetic of Siva as a whole feels
ATP,
much more
I don't think
watered
Bungie
down,
should make Destiny 3 because it'll
version of
likely
what we
be dog
experienced
shit.
in
You're
Destiny 1. Yeah, just
absolutely
call it the
correct,
lands,
Galactic.
not even the Plaguelands.
I don't blame
Bungie's
you for
really
saying
pulled
that
back
publicly on the internet, bro.
Exploring side.
'Cause I think it too.
Really just no exploration. It's just like, hey, load into your zone, kill your stuff, bounce. You know what I mean?
Played in Destiny. And even the exotic mission is the weakest I've ever seen. I genuinely think community sentiment would have been higher if this update didn't come out at all. You can only do the return to the Plaguelands shtick once, and it seemed like an easy win when they would do it. But with basically no narratives, no Iron Lord themed armor, no Fellwinter Peak, no Siva, no Wrath of the Machine, no Siva Strikes, and just one half-baked activity, they failed. By its very nature, this video is an opinionated piece. 22 pages of my own... Is it 22? 22 pages of my own recollection of each era of Destiny. I don't expect you to agree with everything I've said here, but I hope it at least illustrates Destiny's biggest problem over its decade-long run, which is Bungie's failure to learn from its mistakes. At numerous points, Destiny is trying to reinvent the wheel rather than improve on the wheel. We've had iteration over iteration of changes that people didn't ask for. The core game had strong bones that often feel discarded in the name of change for the sake of change. It often just feels like Bungie throws everything at the wall and doesn't even look to see what sticks. They just throw and throw blindly. They don't even learn from their W's. The community doesn't like activity vaulting or sunsetting, yet here we are constantly fighting variations of those ideas even to this day. We don't want FOMO, we want a reason to play. The carrot on the stick can't be the only incentive anymore. The game has to be fun and engaging too, and this year lost a lot of that. The Destiny 2 of today excels in so many places that Destiny 1 failed. But the inverse is also true. The franchise's sense of wonder and mystery in a world larger than you is so rare to come by, or even outright gone now. Even the same locations between Destiny 2 and Destiny 1 just feel different. I won't say objectively worse, but I also think most people would agree that Destiny 2's lighting, brighter, poppier colors, and general atmosphere and art direction don't compare to what we once saw all the way back in 2014. And this isn't just a manifestation of nostalgia, this is very real. But here's the thing, we don't have to choose. Destiny's future can return to its roots and art direction. It can also keep most of the features that we've come to love today. These aren't mutually exclusive at all, but Bungie needs to know that we want it. I know many of you don't trust Bungie to do anything right now just based off of my last video's comments, but there's no harm in at least talking about this. Year after year, Bungie giveth and Bungie taketh. And it's funny how after the worst periods of Destiny, we've always gotten the best times, when Bungie is forced to listen and over-deliver. After D1 launch, we got the Taken King. After D2's launch, Forsaken. After Beyond Light, we got Witch Queen, and after Lightfall, Final Shape. As a player, I'm sick of these crazy ups and downs. The game should be improving every year, not relearning the same lessons. I believe Edge of Fate has had the most walkbacks of any point in Destiny's history.
Yep.
I feel like
I
I'm
agree with
crazy
that.
living in this loop. And I, as a consumer, just fail to understand how a company has failed to understand why the community plays this game, despite
Yes.
developing it for 11 years. I get that every person is going to have different perspectives and preferences, but we should at least start by rebuilding the foundation of the core game that everyone wants to play. Strikes, Crucible, Raids and Dungeons, and hell, even Gambit. All of those were once rituals of the player base. They were challenging, fun, had an incentive to jump into, and were updated. Could you imagine asking your buddy to hop on Destiny 2 and play the Strike playlist with me? He'd
Yeah.
think you're joking.
Yeah.
I'm not a developer, and I don't have a magic solution for most of this stuff. In proof, I just think Destiny's lost its roots. Maybe with the sequel, it could rediscover them. Hell, maybe it doesn't even need a sequel to do it, though I personally doubt that. Destiny didn't used to feel like a game. It felt like a home, a community, an immersive experience. Now it feels like an uncanny imitation of what once was.
Leave the
Today,
corpse
we're
of
on
my
the
game
doorstep of
alone, you
another
know?
expansion.
Yeah.
I don't expect it to fix the game for me, and I'm at
Facts.
peace
Corpse
with that.
Husband
If it
would
does,
be
I'll be pleasantly surprised.
offended that
Maybe
Bungie
Destiny
are
just
trying
isn't
to
for me
recreate
anymore,
his
and I'm
name
the
in a
one that's
literal
out of touch.
sense.
But with these
Oh my
player counts,
God,
I don't
that's
think
valid.
that's necessarily true either. If you do me a favor though, comment when you enjoyed Destiny the most. It could be a general time, expansion, or season, or maybe even a specific moment you remember. I'm really curious how you view the game too. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. See you around.
Great video.
Fantastic video.
That's a great video.
I'm liking.
Doomer videos are even good right now. Dude, this guy just made damn near an hour-long video hoax. If it was a Doom video, he would have just came out and just been like, hey, Destiny shit right now. Here's the player count number, and then f***ed off. My
Yeah.
man, you know how long it probably took him to make this video? This is fantastic content. Fine, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Yeah.
It's not a Doom post. He literally went through the entire history of Destiny. And I hope it brought you back. I hope that it brought you back and showed you a time where you thought, man, this is Destiny.
Yeah.
Like, this is the Destiny experience.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.
Guys, I will tell you this right now. Those times where I used to be happy with Destiny are kind of over. My best and most favorite time of Destiny was definitely the Witch Queen. That was when I was the happiest with Destiny out of everything. Because the narrative was great. The Strike playlist was awesome. PvP actually got fixed to where the cheaters weren't there 40% of the time. I liked it. And I know I can't go back to those days ever again. Which is kind of sad, in all honesty. But it was a good video. Good fucking video, dude. Good fucking video. If I upload this to YouTube, dude, I'll include your channel down in the description, man. Go and check him out. Give him a thumbs up on that video, dude.